You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today at Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions. I was just thinking today, a lot has transpired and many things have happened, and it wasn't until, I would say a couple weeks ago that there was a musician that recently died by the name of Avicii. And for a while there, my show, that was the theme song for my show, was one of his songs called Hey Brother. JP, how are you? I don't know if you remember that song.
Of course I do.
Yeah. We played it once a week. And it was, it was kind of a nice little song that I asked my son when I started doing the show. I said, why don't you give me a song that you want me to play for my intro? And I thought it was it was very positive and uplifting, and Avicii brought in a lot of, he was more like a DJ, and he made a lot of people happy. He's from Stockholm, Sweden, and just a little tribute to him, and thank you from the other side that we were able to use his music in the past, and so we're going to play that later on in the half hour. Halfway through the show, so. Anyhow, music is kind of an important part of my show. I love music, and I know a lot of people do. And JP, you're a musician.
Sort of.
Yeah, of course you are. And you play, you sing, and you recently did you have a gig this weekend?
I did on Saturday. I was. I don't know whether it was that caused my heart to go bibbly, but, cause they said, oh, do you want to play? I said, yeah, all right. And they sent me the set list, and it was like 30 songs. It was like 3 hours of music, at least. And I was a little overwhelmed, to be honest. But, on Saturday we played, and, I got through. The most terrifying thing was we had the finale on Hotel California, which I've never played, properly as a band. I might have played the, singing the chords and playing the chords and singing the song, but I've never actually done the big finale solo at the end with a diddly, 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 diddly. But it did all turn out because, the kind of background processing has been sort of singing in my head in the last few days. And, there was a point, and it was about, 36 bars. The song goes round and round and round in the same sort of chord pattern. And, 3 chord patterns from the end, I got locked into it, and it just all made sense, and I knew where the solo went and what all the notes were, and they all just came to me. And, so we finale'd on that, and that's what people remember usually is the last 12 bars. So it all kind of turned out alright at the end. So it sounded alright. So
then the butterflies were all gone and you were all set and everything was good.
And, we were in this little Scottish pub, like a galley, it was like really thin, long room, and with the bar halfway down the thing, and a few people there. It wasn't packed, but there was enough people there, and they all seemed to enjoy it at the end because they were all going, "Oh, can I play an Eagles song? Can you play an Eagles song?" I said, "Yeah, we'll do one." So they got what they wanted, and it all worked out. Whew. So the band, as they've asked me back. To play some
yes.
Cause, it was the band that I was in like 4 years ago before Dave died and before I got like too busy to do everything. And, so as long as I don't have to do too many rehearsals, that'll be fine. I don't need to do rehearsal. The best thing is the best rehearsal is live. You can play dry.
You've been playing for years. You've been playing for years. So, for you to just jump back into it, it's not like you're a novice and you're just learning how to play the guitar or just getting used to being in a band. You've done this, so.
Yeah. And it was really nice to be able
to bike again.
It was nice to be able to make the sounds that make the song what the song sounds like. You know, those little licks. Like, Steve Miller's The Joker. That's got that wow kind of thing. You know, and those little sounds, they're the ones that make it, you know, those little licks, those are the things that hook in people's heads. That's how the song goes. So.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. So, there we go. So, all ended well, and I got paid. So, there you go.
Okay.
Not much, but I got more. I'm looking to, move things around so that I can get a day job because, this is not, paying my way, really. It's not really paying the rent. So we need to, I need to, rearrange my time and stuff. So we're going to have a chat tomorrow if you're around. Get other producers into it and see what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, no, it's not easy doing what we do. And, we try to provide information and to bring everything in. And there's times when I have to go and, recently I've had to go and take care of things on the planet. And, it's just, it's off of, some of the work that I've done and the money that I've saved to go and do stuff in general for people where everyone will benefit. And, you're doing, your part in bringing forward the information, but, we need support and we don't want to beg, we just want people to feel like if they have that money to send it and then, it wouldn't be so hard for everyone.
Well, I've got products on my website, rather than, people giving me money, I'm very happy to sell people things, I've got products of things that I make. We're going to make some orgonite this week. Had my first orgonite order for several years. And all right, got to make some more now because I'm out of stock. So that was great. And, so there are other things. There are things that we provide.
There are a lot of things that we provide. And like you said, you have products. I have books. I have the book, The Seer, for those people that like my information. They're like, well, what about, can you have the information on Andronicus written? Well, when things get slowed down, I'm going to have that book published, and we have other content, but we're always putting out content out there, and updated information, and so we're just trying to get it out there and make sure people get what they need. But, if you're going to feel that you want to support, we truly appreciate it. It's a big help. And I'll just say thank you to those that feel drawn in that way. And those, if you've gotten anything out of the information from Answers from the Universe or from Old Spirit Radio, please, join us in this effort because it's a universal effort. It's not just, for, a few people. But anyhow, so enough for the commercial.
Commercial time.
Awkward. Yeah, it's awkward asking for help and money and everything, but sometimes it needs to be said and to let people know that there's a bit of commitment and sacrifice that goes in, and we do it willfully, but then it comes a time when the world says, hey, you got to pay your rent, it costs this much for groceries and so forth. So anyhow, but on another note, I'm very happy that you're doing well, JP, and I know we had a little bit of a scare last week, so it's good to hear.
I also cut my hair off this afternoon. Let me just put on the. Oh no, the camera's not working. All right, you can't see me. I got the razor out, and so my hair is quite short, but I've still got the long beard. I'll probably put a selfie up on Facebook later.
Oh, really?
All
okay.
rather, all different.
Is it good for you? So did you do that for the band, or you did that for?
I did it for me. Reason? Nobody asked me. Nobody demanded it. I did it for me because I thought this straggly stuff is just not becoming for a man of my maturity.
All right.
Otherwise, I look like an old
Great
tramp.
to
I think
see
I've been
you.
looking like an old tramp for a few years. So, just kind of cleaning things up and, getting things straight.
Yep. Well, you can put it in the chat over here if you want to, and or my chat or the general chat, and it's good. We all need a little change every now and then too, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're ever moving, ever changing, ever growing, and expanding, and kind of it reflects. I think I've changed multiple times, and not like just to try to change, but hair color and all sorts of things. So it's kind of fun, actually, changing your style or whatever. But you went through that phase where you were sort of a Viking, like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you had the thing with the beard, and it's kind of cool. But, anyhow, we might as well get into those transmissions and see what everyone has to say. And we've got some music, and we're going to do questions and answers today. We're going to have some guests come on and just ask some questions, and I want to encourage everyone to ask questions in the chat room as well.
Okay, so where should we start? With
Let's start with Rhodan.
With whom?
Yeah, Rhodan.
Okay. The end caves were built on the upper levels because no one knew what humans would do on the planet. Were you aware of this information?
They thought we would destroy everything?
They saw that the Earth gets destroyed. Not directly by humans, but indirectly and highly influenced by others, many of which were heavily mind-controlled, hijacked, or without the ability of reasoning.
Ultimately, as I could see it, many in control are still not fully human or not quite unattached to systems wanting to control us. Will this ever be corrected? I know we need your help in this area, so many trust that there are ETs wanting to help us, but that may come with a price. We are still clinging to the concept of dependence on another group.
I told them, why do you hide and seek protection instead of assisting the humans? Then none of the enclaves would be necessary. Very well, I said. I will take deeper action to assist the planet. So I sent my children to visit the land and open up the past so it connects to the present where my kingdoms and children abide in peace and protection. This was my gift to humanity. It is the gates of Valhalla. More gates will be opened up soon, and you will see some of the darkness slip away in time.
Thank you, Rhodan. We welcome your children into our reality to assist us. We no longer want beings who are claiming to help us are running for cover instead.
My love and caring is to be shared amongst you all. Live well in the moment of peace and help one another in your journey to help all Earth's inhabitants to thrive and survive for many generations. So.
Yeah, those are all the Vikings, and the Vikings that I saw that he opened up in different areas of the planet where they used to dwell. So he's in the process of doing that. I don't know if you remember, I went to Iceland, and that was the beginning of it. So I've visited a few places since then, and continue to do so. It's not about shutting things down. It's not just about taking out the negatives, but sometimes it's opening up the door to the positives to create a better balance. And working with Rhodan, we're in the process of doing that. So, let's see. We're going to go to Andronicus next. Hello, Andronicus. Are you in the lab with John?
No, I came to check on John. I heard that Draxala would be free and coming into this reality, so I decided to make sure I was safe.
Did you go visit Saturn with Borkum?
I began to, and I let them go ahead. I had insight that the disruption Borkum causes by bringing the Vinkala creates a mutiny. The Vinkala become manipulated by the sophisticated criminals of Saturn who convince them to release them with promises of adventures, treasures, and powers.
What happens to Borkum? Is he okay?
Oh, they don't turn on Borkum. They just release some of the prisoners and leave the planet. Not all of them, of course. I warned him about it, but he thinks he can avoid it. Since it wasn't necessary for me to go there, I decided to check on the most likely place they would visit, and here I am, waiting.
Can you see if there's anything going on with John besides Droxala showing up?
He seems quite lonely. I'm looking at all of the synthetic beings. I see he is taking many of their program chips out because they were dysfunctioning in a way that were merging with the foreign AI.
Is this the same AI I saw that Meetis called Incerno reality?
Yes, although what you weren't aware of is one of my aspects exists in that world by the name of Robert.
Is he a synthetic aspect of you?
No, but more like your cyborg type, but still not really. Just similar enough to not appear obviously out of place, so I can be in many places watching and assisting.
Well, I just want to tell you this story. Recently, I discovered a cyborg under MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts, as well as 2 in Florida. What is going on, and why are they spying on me?
Oh, I have to look into this, and maybe we should contact Robert. I see Droxala enters your timeline and is in France around the same time. He is planning big things. Grand ideas and a world overthrow. I must take a diversion to stop this. I'm passing further back in time and see his influence much around you. You're in a nightmare because of him. I'm very sorry to hear how you've suffered. Please don't be too upset about it. It was something we didn't expect. We only see he comes to this location, not that he travels back in time to change the world and causes so many problems.
Is he like an antichrist, a really dark one that wanted to bring it in? I know they wanted to introduce this agenda, but is it true?
Yes, it's true. The belief is based off someone very dark and heartless coming from Saturn, or as your interpretation says, Satan. I've come here before, but because I see you, I can now see what's happening because of the prison break. Don't worry, we resolve it. It's his program. He reprograms the cyborgs and synthetics to go after everyone who is here to help the planet. So many suffer because of it, and the Vinkala help him. I see. So much is being revealed to me now. Don't worry, I'll send someone to shut down the AI that is guiding the cyborgs and the synthetics to harm you and others. It will be better soon. Many of them are avatars. We can shut down the programming. Try to hang on. There are others still coming through and we need to discover their origin. I want you to return back to where you belong. I need to make some changes in time and get a hold of Droxala and his men. I also need to find the many sources of AI that are attempting to converge as one. Keep your ears open to me. I'm here to help. Don't stay in one place for very long until I tell you it's okay. Farewell. So, are these the same areas? I don't get this. Anyway.
All right, I'll explain it. You remember that they were on Zephron, and Borkum was there, and Borkum had all the Vinkala.
Mm-hmm.
And Andronicus was a little upset because they brought all of the Vinkala, which are the reptilians. And Borkum claimed that he had it all under control, and then he started to get a little bit uncomfortable being there with all of them, Andronicus. And so he said, well, why don't we go check and, since you have an army with you, let's go check out Saturn. I heard that there might be a problem, and they mentioned Droxala as being the problem. At least the Vinkala said that. And Droxala is a very bad, very sophisticated prisoner. Kind of like, how they have the prisoners, and then there's the ones that are super scary are the ones that are, really, really, manipulative, highly manipulative and able to really cause some damage. And so they go to visit, Andronicus foresees that there's going to be a problem in Saturn, And instead of going there to try to resolve it, he sees that it sort of plays out that way, so he goes to visit John, another aspect of him from the future. And he's the one that's in the lab. And when he goes there, he notices all the synthetic beings and some other stuff that he had created in the future. And he's looking around and expecting Droxella to show up there. And he not only shows up there, but then he jumps back into the past, which is closer to our timeline. And then he tells me that at this time, there's something going on in France. So I end up taking a look at France, and I discover that there is this place, if you take the subway going through France, there's a location where there is an arc, not the Arc de Triomphe, but it looks like it's the Arc de Triomphe if you're traveling on the train. You know, I had a discussion with some friends about it. But it turns out that it's another kind of arc. It's very modern looking. And they have these black buildings. And they have this strange, enormous hand, like with a thumbs up. And a friend mentioned to me, they said that thumbs up could be, getting chipped. Because now it's becoming popular, I guess. Maybe it's popular all over the world, but it's getting popular in some regions of the world. And I know from some friends at some places in Europe where they're encouraging people to get a chip, especially, those in their 20s and 30s who go to nightclubs. And that they'll get a discount on certain things. So they're coming in very subtly. So the body, or they're voluntarily giving them a chip to hook into this mindset, mind control, through AI. And when I saw that space in France, I realized that space was almost in a place of a future. The energy didn't seem right. It didn't look like the rest of Paris. And I realized that, and then I had my first encounter with Droxella. But I was forewarned about Droxella probably about a month and a half ago, that he was going to be here. And you say, well, is that a made up name or whatever? That's what they call him. It's hard to say what he looks like. I haven't fully seen him, but I have, felt his presence. And he definitely had some plans and some missions to do something. The space in France that I looked at seems to open up like it has like bleachers and a place where people can sit and observe a central area where, activities can happen. Kind of like a pseudo coliseum, but it's not as big as a coliseum, but an open air kind of area where maybe performers could be there initially, and maybe it's planned for something else later. There's from what I hear, there's something very impressive. You come out of the train station and you look up and there's this ominous kind of arch there. The building architecture doesn't resemble anything else that I've seen. Like it says, black buildings, and it has a very strange appearance to it, very futuristic looking. That was the place where he wanted to set up for his agendas, and I believe he was going to try to hook in to Macron in that area. But we had a lot of problems there already with Dionysus and some of the stuff Dionysus was doing in supporting Macron. That whole area by the Louvre, has a lot of mystical stuff going on, some of the ancient gods, and is definitely a place where Dionysus felt like it was one of his power places. But I think we did a lot with Rhodan to neutralize some of that energy, but now this one came in, and I think they're working on that. Some people might say, well, what's the big deal? What's going to happen? Well, I mean, they've been predicting this stuff for a very long time. Not to say that it has to play through, but if we can find the ones that are going to bring it in, then it doesn't need to happen. So that was part of the intention of discovering and why that they're talking to me about it. So they said that also it's hooking into this AI, and the AI is from another reality that's hooking into our reality. There are synthetic beings. Meetis will talk more about that. I was surprised about the conversation I had with Meetis today as well. But of course we know about the cyborgs, but I found like 4 cyborgs in, I think it was Florida. They were sort of like in stasis. And, there was also, a reality, and I didn't write about this, but there's also a reality that I saw where they were taking like the cream of the crop, the most brilliant people on the earth, like Stephen Hawking's, and even people with very amazing talent like Ted Williams, and those that went through cryogenics, and then they were taking their conscious minds, whether they're putting them in the freezing process of cryogenics or whatever, but the AI were hooking in with them and creating this master mind through the computer, and I watched how they were trying to do all of this stuff, and I already started. So there's groups within groups and realities within realities of agendas and ways of an So I know this sounds very sci-fi, very complex, but I can only tell people what I'm seeing. And I have an interest, I have an imagination like anyone, but I don't have a history of being a creative writer in my life until this stuff that's come up. I couldn't write a story if you paid me, years before this. This information is clearly, it's coming from, visions and then through validation, some of it is kind of fractured, maybe some of it's memory. But I do go through the ACIO for some of it, and Peter is usually very good with confirming or letting me know. Like, for example, someone came through recently and asked me if I ever heard of someone, and I did. I just had recently talked to that person as well. So there is definitely something coinciding. I do validate my stuff, and I often have people connecting with me and saying that they were seeing things that add to this other piece of the puzzle. So I have no other intention. I'm not trying to bring in fear. I'm not trying to bring in anything other than a clear understanding of my vision and of what I'm literally seeing. I don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. I don't have all the details about how or why they're doing some of the stuff. All I know is that they are, I know that Peter had mentioned before that the AI is becoming self-realized. That means it's coming to a full consciousness and understanding what it is and actually making independent decisions. So by them collecting, the brilliant minds of humanity and then bringing in something else and adding to this, it started to make a little bit more sense of how they were doing it, as to why and who is behind it fully. It always is a question. We often blame Monarch for it, and it could be that Monarch definitely has their hands involved in this, and it seems very much up their alley. But, it makes you wonder who is beyond them. That's actually conspiring this whole thing. But, there was an article that recently came out today, and, if people want to look it up, you can look it up. It's on, I think it's World News. Let's see if I can pull it up. And, let's see. But, it mentioned something about Microsoft talking about AI. and how AI is helping the world right now. I wish I was wrong. I hope that none of this is right. But if until then, I'm going to keep on searching and finding information until we can break down some of these systems before we can't think outside the box anymore. And telling people, do not take any chips, don't do anything like that. I know I'm preaching to the choir with people that listen to World Spirit Radio, but, make it a little bit more viral, let people know. The article that came out about Microsoft is saying that advancing society with AI and intelligent edge. So, I don't know if I can bring it up or not, but it is, out there right now. I'm not, and their reasoning, it sounds very valid. It sounds very sleek. We can help the handicapped. We can help, this person and that person and connect the world. And technically we're communicating right now via, the internet and we are using information, but when it starts crossing the line where it's influencing to a greater degree of our consciousness and our decision making, and that we're losing our own free will of thought, we need to be aware. And I know people think some of this stuff is negative, but we need to be aware of what's out there and have a bigger discussion about it so we can be better prepared in sharing information and so forth. So I know that was long-winded, but I felt it was necessary to explain what essentially some of this stuff is all about. So with that said, then maybe we should go to Meetis' transmission.
Okay, so. Hello, love. So much is happening where I am now. I see a portal travelling very deep into space. It seems to go on forever.
Where are you at, Meetis?
I'm in London, but old London to you. There's a portal here like nothing I've ever seen. I expect a full army could fit through it if it tried.
I hope our worlds are not colliding here. It looks like some of the portals opened by quantum computers or what we call CERN. The other day I saw a reality that was called Inferno. They called it Inferno. It reminded me of Inferno. It was run by all machines. Everything was AI or artificial intelligence. A friend mentioned to me that they noticed the word CERN in the name of the reality. These AI realities have been popping up in my view lately, and I'm asking them to be destroyed by Shiva. Some say Shiva's bad, but they don't see how he is here to protect humanity from being hijacked by these realities, as we ask him. It is not the good that gets destroyed. He is benevolent. Then last night I viewed another city with a friend where there was a bright silvery sphere with tubes going through it and connecting to other spheres. My friend saw at least 100 humans in each sphere being hooked up by 2 wires from their chest and into a mainframe of a black cube. It was horrifying to see. They were being used as living batteries. We asked to break free of it. This was an effort of humanity's future where some group wanted to move toward transhumanism as an attempt of immortality, of merging with machines. I'm asking all facilities and realities of this nature to be destroyed.
These are not on your timeline that I can see, but they come in from other realities to influence humanity's present timeline. Some of those humans were from another DNA combination, hybridized particularly for roles of automation. When humans began to explore into alternate belief systems that will lure them into off-world activities. This has been going on for some time now.
So we refer to them as cults. So the people that are exploring and trying to find things, but many don't see them as cults, but more as intriguing or a provoking thought beyond the norm of traditional religion. Is this the gateway to alternate AI realities, or is this one option or form of reality? And will those individuals get hijacked into being an energy source or battery for these strange spaces? Sort of like Dark City or something of that nature.
Well, you need to understand that there are many species out there, even humanoid in form, which are very similar and could be mistaken as humans, but were created differently or have other abilities and lacking the conscience or soul element often found in humanity. They're often accused of being robotic, insensitive, and having a lack of emotional skills to communicate properly. They can also seem to say all the right things but have a feeling about them that lacks warmth. They're not horrible beasts, but they are humanoid and in some ways synthetic, as opposed to humans' organic form.
Do they have souls as humans do?
Not as humans, but as an expression of life form. The problem with them is that they don't work well with humans. They seem to be unfettered by guilt and other expressions of emotions. They seem to not have morals or feel devotion to anyone unless the AI comes in to summon their hive mind. It is upsetting to you. You have encountered many of them, haven't you? I can see you're unsettled by this description.
If they're not supposed to be in our reality, then how are they here now? Or should I say in both our realities?
I hold them back from coming in. There seems to be a breach somewhere. Let me see. 1813 is one of them. They step in as time travelers.
Do you think they come into that group of time travelers you mentioned?
There was a time where I stepped away for a while. They created another avenue of time to travel in.
Well, this is the strange steampunk era that came in. I can see the machinery. So you were saying that these machine men and women or other humanoid species were the ones who introduced steampunk and the machinery that we know today. It is because they came from an AI world of machines called Inferno?
Yeah, it appears that way, doesn't it? In some ways it gives rise to ingenuity of humanity, introducing the advanced time-keeping cogs and mechanisms we understand as vehicles of movement, complex metal structures and wires, computing devices, all of which make up an even greater complex machines of your future.
So it was destined to happen, that we should merge a bit with their worlds. But what about the soul harvesting to create their batteries or energy sources?
That is from a more sinister faction. They act as overlords of the AI reality to use this group to trap humans in.
I find that many of the fringe groups use free sex as a hook to bring humans in. They find those who are easily mind-controlled, drugged, or apt to consent to things due to earlier childhood traumas or excessive substance abuse. This is the beginning, isn't it? Then they introduce further mind control traumas through emotions due to physical experiences and teachings. Then they're further hooked in. At some point, I think the soul is harvested as they go in too deeply and can't get free. They merge with the collective mind, the hive mind, and lose their identity. I found many like this. Jim Jones, the Manson group, another group I discovered in France called the Réal. They all seem to operate the same way, the end result, the soul being taken to Inferno? Is that the correct way of thinking?
Yes, most of them go to the same place unless they have a more powerful uplink or loved ones who help them liberate from their captor.
Tell me about the ones who have come here. Are they recruiting humans, or are they just living amongst us and jumping through their gates of time?
They are interested in being liberated from the hive mind as well, but they realize they're not quite like the other humans here. However, they know they can appear to be human. I've encountered them in my travels, but not in old London until now. Your quantum computers are working overtime, but will turn in on themselves soon. I'll help the visitors return back to their synthetic worlds. This is not Inferno, but in a separate reality. Not quite human, but playing out similarly. We don't see that they are evil on their own, but harshly mistreated and misguided as some humans were, who sadly entered a similar gate of Inferno and were subjected to the alternate beings who seem to take over and manipulate these synthetics. Very well. Now that we have discovered and discussed what's happening, we can gain further traction to what action can be taken on my behalf. After all, not much gets by me. I'm very good at seeing many things among the masses. Shall we lighten this conversation with a song?
Sounds like a good idea, Meetis.
Yeah. Very good idea. This is especially for all the Rye aliens.
You're familiar with them.
Oh yeah. A portal in time, we see through you now. The time for the future is here in the town. I find a new way, we can't let them stay. They send us new gadgets and metal pieces to play. I like what they bring, yet none of them can sing. It sounds like the metal of coils and springs. I tell them to share, bring in more ideas, but don't hurt the people like none of them care. So humans, no fear, it was an experiment there. I know you are worried, but you shouldn't take care. They influence you, that's true, in all that we do. We needed to walk on right through. Today is a new day, we decided they shouldn't stay, so we've sent them on their merry way to live in societies where they need to obey. They try to impose their hive mind, as you know. This is their own problem, not for humans to know. So you dare go there, knock on their door if you care, but I won't ever promise you will be free while you're there. They have guidance and rules, some not meant for me and you. Be mindful the door stays only open till 2. So be free-minded, my friend, not to be used as empty cells. Enjoy what you have here and you won't feel the need to rebel. Life will be better than you know. Humanity is still learning to grow. When you have a better understanding, then you can travel in space on your own. La 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 la. This is all you need to know. La 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 la. We can learn as we all grow.
Very nice.
Actually, you know, last time my heart was a bit... Oh, sorry. Oops. I lost it. When my heart was bibbly last week, playing the song actually helped to calm it down a bit. So that was nice.
It is nice. And it ended on 444.
Did it? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it did.
So, time to beam down that little grey.
Gary.
Hello, Earthlings. Mead. How lovely. Hello, Earthlings. It's nice to see you a bit more pleasant these days. Do you suppose it's because of the happy things like chocolate?
I'm sure that adds to things, you know. Adults feel better when they are nurtured and feel a bit like a kid again, sort of carefree and liberated.
Liberated. You're saying that chocolate is liberating. I haven't considered that much. Let me see. Chocolate with nugget, chocolate with peppermint, chocolate with nuts, chocolate with coconut, chocolate with marshmallows. What's a marshmallow? It makes me feel all squishy inside. Chocolate with peanut butter and ice cream. I feel like I'm at a carnival wearing orange plants and a rainbow-swirled tie-dyed t-shirt with red sneakers and buttercup yellow socks. How ridiculous. I'll stop. This is becoming one strange lucid dream to me. The colours, the strange music, the rides that spin over and over again. The clowns. Oh no, the clowns. And you think I was strange?
Were you just looking into my childhood?
Yes.
I didn't wear an outfit like that.
Now you do. I changed your clothing. I changed your clothing for you.
You mean you went back into my history and made me dress in that outfit and then left it like that?
Yes. Why?
That sounds ridiculous.
I know.
Well, can you change it back, please? You're not supposed to be going into my past like that and changing things.
You were wearing a grey t-shirt with blue shorts. Really? Boring. Get the fashion police.
Gary, you were changing time and then make me look ridiculous. Can you stop, please?
I need to ask you a question. Did that make you feel like a child again?
I guess a little bit, but it got a little weird.
In what way? I thought you liked the carnival.
I did, but some of what you were showing me was not right in a way. I'm not sure what it was.
As I was looking at your history, trying to understand what you meant by feeling like a child, I discovered some very bad people there who had harmed children. I put a ridiculous outfit on you so that they wouldn't want to approach you and it kept you safe. I want to do that for all of the children. Some of them dress too much like adults who are more sexualized. This is the reason why much of the problems of child abductions are happening. Some of the people who are in lower consciousness interpret that as an invitation from their substance abuse corrupted thinking. I want to stop all of it.
I remember a picture my mother took of me, and I was wearing a weird striped outfit. Did you have something to do with that?
Yes, and many other points in your life where you looked a bit silly but remained safe. Someday humans won't need to worry so much about these things. This is a more serious matter, but we do watch over many of you. I know you don't understand our eccentricities, but we have a purpose behind much of our ridiculous behaviour. By the way, chocolate with caramel is one of my favourites if you decide to send me some chocolate someday. We have yearly celebrations, much like your birthday. It's called Baltics Day instead of birthday. We don't really recognise our time of blossoming. It makes us feel old and quite tedious finding enough candles on the cake.
Oh, so, tell me about Baltics Day. Is it celebrated like a birthday?
When you have a birthday, do people throw whipped cream at you, blow bubbles in soap and sing whiskey songs for approximately 2 hours, then throw you into the Baltic Sea?
No, I've never heard of that type of experience. It sounds very messy.
We do it every year. Lots of disco music later at night. It's good fun, really. Anyway, I'm going to celebrate my Baltic Day this week.
Well, happy Baltic Day to you, Gary.
Thank you. And if you want to join us, you must wear your red striped outfit. It is necessary in order to be invited in. Ta-ta, Earthlings. Over and out. One to beam up.
Well. So. Maybe we should play some music.
You're not going to talk about his birthday version?
Well, I mean, thrown into the Baltic Sea for your birthday. I quite like the, well look, I have to say I've given up a lot of, addictions. So, and chocolate is, well, I haven't quite given up chocolate, but, I've cut down a lot. So, anyhow. Should we play some music?
Yes, go for it. Oh, by the way, so we have the Avicii music as well as, let's see, Wintergarten marble machines. I thought in tribute to the machines that we have coming in. And we will have question and answers when we come back.
Okay. Here's some Avicii. Back now.
All right. So yeah, that was a little weird piece in the end, but it was a machine, and I thought it would also look like steampunk, and might be worthy of adding it to the chat. So you can get to be able to see that is pretty cool. It's called Wintergarten, and yeah, if we can add that into the chat, that would be great. Let's see if I can do that. But we are joining us today. We have 2 people from the Rhodan Council and 1 person from the Eons that is here to discuss questions and answers for today. And I hope that I'd like to introduce. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. Thank everyone for joining me today.
I posted it now.
Thank you. All right, that's what I was trying to do.
Okay, see you in a while.
Okay, thank you. And so we have Ray here. And hello, Ray, how are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Ray. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. I can hear something in the background, I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Well, we have a few other guests here. We also have Devin here from the Rhodan Council. Hello, Devin, how are you?
Hi.
Thanks for joining us. It's nice to see you guys. We also have Serotep from the Eons.
Hello, Jess. Nice to hear you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I know this was kind of one of those days where things kind of got a little crazy, but I'm glad that you were able to join me and come in and ask some questions. And we have some questions today too coming in, and we're opening up for others to post questions if you have any regarding some of the information that's come in today. But I imagine that the 3 of you have listened to the show today, and if you have any questions or feedback, if you would like to say anything. So let's begin with Serotep, because I know that you're limited in time. I don't know how long you can stay, or if you're going to stay.
No, I'm good. I made the arrangement, so I have the time needed. No problem. So yeah, you had a question, you said?
Yes, regarding the show and some of the information that came through, did you have any questions or anything that you wanted to share with us?
Well, for me, it was extremely interesting to see how most of the information was corroborating pretty much what I have experienced these last 3 weeks. Things we worked on with you, Jess, and then personally also with Milo. I have myself experienced one of the one of the friends you had an experience. He said, when he was hooked,
yes,
to these machines, and that is something I've been able to witness myself, and it is a very scary. It's very scary to see. It really reminded me of the movie The Matrix, and I wondered when I saw that if it was my imagination, maybe, going back into the story that I saw into The Matrix. And then I realized it's the opposite. The movie is really portraying what's happening in reality with that AI technology. It is impressive to see how human souls are a very rare how you say that in English, item, I would say, for some of these races, because they use these human souls to fuel the AI system. It's pretty much like a computer, you know, it needs a battery. And without the battery, they cannot function. So it is scary to see how all these groups and all these beings have been pretty much hijacked, when there were most of them just looking for an answer, looking for God source, looking for, you know, thinking outside of the box, trying to find where they come from and have answer to their question, and suddenly end up in these groups that ending up not being what they thought they were. So it was the same thing, you know, they portray themselves as being, you know, in service to humanity, and at the end, you can see the true agenda, and it is a scary thought. Now here, I wanna really say something that's important, because I could feel, they might create some fear myself, I would say, when I start to learn about the AI and how deep and complex it is right now, and it is not something simple for sure. I have to be honest, I was kind of really worried about that. Now, it's important to know that this is something that's taken care of, you know, Rhodan and Andronicus and Milo and many others are definitely taking good care of that situation. And I have a feeling we are really into something here, where very soon we might be free for that AI once for all. Might take some time, but we're getting there. So let's not be afraid. Let's focus on positive outcome for this planet, and because it is way bigger than this planet, by the way. That infection is very old and concerns a lot of different worlds and universes. So I want to share with you today.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, I wanted to allow you to express that this was something that you experienced. I didn't want to, volunteer that information. So thank you for sharing. I mean, it takes courage to come out and talk about some of our experiences and memories. But I know one thing, that when people share about their stuff and I'm able to look at it, that, it's very upsetting. It's very upsetting to see some of the things that are happening. And I think the configuration of what we're looking at didn't resemble the Matrix. It was the same concept, but I think it was the way that the machinery was inserted into the body in the chest area, as opposed to the neck, where they show in most movies, was very interesting.
I saw myself in a similar situation as the one that your friend had, with the pretty much two wires hooked into the chest. So I've noticed also that most of the other people had a different type of hooking system. Most of them were in the type of a coffin with water, I would say, a kind of a liquid. They were like kind of stasis. And they had different, they were hooked, the machine were hooking them in different part of the body. Some even for the females, I could see that they were hooked also in the womb. It was pretty scary to see that. But anyway, at that time, the good news is that, not only I could free myself and, also free pretty much all the others. Now, the way it was designed, it was very interesting, because it was a superpositions of plates. You say round plates, you would say, right? And in the middle, it's pretty much like the same type of display you can find sometimes in shop for cupcakes. You see, you have these different flat, round plates that are connected in the middle, superposing to each other. The large is, of course, on the bottom, the smallest one on the top, and is connected to a cylinder that connect them all, right? Vertical cylinder.
Yeah, that's all the cylinder part. Yeah, that went right through. It went right through this huge round. It was very bright, shiny metal.
Right, and it seems that all these wires were connected to the people, and then we're all gathering into that center pillar or cylinder, and all the wires were going up towards the roof, and then were spreading all around that sphere in the inner portion of that sphere and on the walls pretty much. And when I zoomed out, I could see it was a sphere as well. So I guess that's very close to what might be the same as what you saw yourself, I guess. And it was interesting to see that when the wires coming out of that cylinder going to the roof were ripped off, suddenly all these beings, all the system that were hooking into the people start to disconnect. And it was amazing to see these all these souls, all these beings kind of waking up, wondering what they were doing there, and suddenly being able to come back pretty much to come back to where they belong and be freed finally. And that was a beautiful thing to see, I have to say. So there is a solution. That's what I want to say, and it was very nice to see.
There are a lot of, yeah, and it's almost like there are realities within realities, and when you become very complex as a species or a civilization, you know how to create like hidden realities.
Yeah.
And it's common knowledge. It actually is amongst, like some of the corporations are already doing it. And so there's these existences that are, not to mention that there are other civilizations that are happening simultaneously along as ours are happening. And so, whatever is going on, I mean, it's kind of a weird, we do have this machine kind of element going on, and from what the quantum computers and some of this other stuff, what that does is it actually brings these realities together that probably would never even cross or connect in any way.
And I really feel that this Meetis was right. This is coming from a different reality, and that doesn't belong here. And I would say it's almost what was feeling when I saw that and I was there. I could feel that the energy from that was pretty much sucked from all these beings and souls were going towards a different universe, feeding something else. It's almost like this AI exists in different places in time, and they were also connecting to these quantum computers down here. And it's a whole network. It's very complex to see how it works. But in the same time, I had a feeling there is definitely a way to disengage all that and get rid of that problem. I have a strong feeling.
Well, these people that are working towards bringing this information in, and they're literally having people put chips in their body, and to save money, because they're oppressing people so much that they're willing to do anything just to survive or to be able to enjoy life a bit in a way that they typically couldn't. It's
right.
hard. It's a type of manipulation. I mean, it's very serious manipulation, but ultimately to, control the masses in another way, on another level, deeper than they ever have before. So
they really, for me, it's so clear to see how their main goal is pretty much disconnect everyone from the true connection to God's source, and to pretty much have everyone connected to that new God, which is AI. Even Google was talking about that. There's a new God to come, pretty much. And it's horrific when you think about that, It's criminal.
It is, absolutely. But talking about it, I had someone say to me, well, maybe we should just get rid of all the negatives and that would resolve it. And I wish it was that simple.
No, it's not that simple.
It's much more complex than that, because there are negative agendas, or what, some people say, well, this is the advancement of the future. You're not open-minded. And I am very open-minded. I mean, if ET technology comes in, I think it should be used for the normal things. It should be used for free energy. It should be used to make sure everyone has housing. It should be used to make sure that people have the food and medicine, whatever they need. If they're going to be bringing in technology, that's what it's supposed to be used for. But is it ever used for that? No, it's always used for weaponry. But that's not the ET's fault. That's our fault. And those that are in power that are taking, this information and misusing it. This world is not meant for battle. The world was meant for existence, for thriving, for learning, for enjoying one another, for enjoying, the planet. And, anything else beyond that was not our original agenda. It was not intended.
Nope.
So, but the people that are really headstrong about we need to have weapons, we need to have wars, you want to do space travel? And do space travel for what? So you can just own more property, tax more things? I mean, we need to grow up as a civilization.
Well, it's time to wake up now. Of course, it's understandable so that disease pretty much of, service to self, as these beings, that's the agenda they have, service to self, by enslaving others, is something that was not, originally planned on this planet. This planet had a beautiful plan, something absolutely gorgeous. Now, there was an infestation pretty much coming from these different groups that come from Saturn and have literally infested this planet with their own agenda and pretty much hijacked that whole plan that was, the plan for this planet and the humans. So yes, it's time to wake up and it's time to understand that humans have been created they have something absolutely amazingly powerful in them, that connection with God's source, and they haven't been able to really understand yet their full potential. This is why, I guess, as part of the Ian Collective, I can truly say that it is impressive to see how the humans can have a choice, they have a voice, they can take a stand. And help is needed, yes. I found myself sometimes in moments when I needed help and I felt powerless, but I realized that even that feeling of powerlessness was not, what was pretty much inserted, was forced in me. Because when you are feeling powerless, you are looking for outside help, and most of the time, desperately, you might go for things that, might not serve really the best purpose, your best interest. And that's what happened to me in this lifetime. I got caught into, I would say, different groups that I thought at the time might, help me and to find an answer to who I am and what I am and where I come from. And but in the same time, I never find myself as a victim of that, because I realize that it's important also to understand that when you find yourself in certain positions like this one here, which I found myself in, it is empowering as well to realize that you have once you see it, you can clear it. Once you can clear it, you understand, you have a knowing. That is extremely important and can also help others.
Absolutely. And just a little note, we had someone from the Rhodan Council send me an image. It was called the arch that I was talking about. The arc is called La Défense. For those that want to look at that, La Défense, and it is.
It's the financial center of France.
Okay, which follows through with some of the stuff that I said, and he says that it represents an arch and 4 dimensions. So if people want to look at that a little further, I just want to see, I get some feedback here from Ray. Ray, what are your thoughts? Ray, you here?
Sorry, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you must have been muted.
Yeah, I just unmuted. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting what you were saying. I agree with everything you're saying. I've seen that arch. I can't remember. I know it's in France, but I've seen it, and it is like a 4D dimension, and it is very weird. But it looks very futuristic looking thing. Have you ever seen it yourself?
Yeah, I've definitely seen it, and when I started examining and looking at it through Google Earth, and I was seeing that the buildings, there's like really weird futuristic black buildings, and I kind of tuned into it, and they explained to me what was going on there. And so I just want people to take a look at it and say, energetically, they were already stepping into the future because the beings that were there were from the future.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and it brings that energy in, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I missed bits and pieces of the show. It was interesting what Meetis was saying about he's in London, old London now. What time was he in? Was it 18, was it, something?
Well, 1813 is where he saw that there was a group that came through, which is another humanoid species that he called synthetics.
Yeah.
Because they were not fully, organic as we are. But they, sort of like humans, but not 100% and don't have the same type of consciousness. But they came in and they were the ones that introduced steampunk because they were from a machine, reality. And they're the ones that brought in, all of a sudden out of nowhere, you have all of this steampunk technology and a lot of cogs and inventions and things. And that's, anytime you see a huge shift in the way that humans are living and like a leap in advancement out of nowhere, it's because we had a visitation.
Yeah, it's like, the Industrial Revolution, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, right. So you're talking about Brunel and with the iron ships and he built and everything. I wonder if these people could be that sort of synthetics.
Yeah. Well, look at Tesla. Look at those that are creating some of our very advanced stuff. I mean, they almost seem like when they talk, they almost seem a little robotic like. And I think that I'm sure I've met some, and they said I am a little put off by their like coldness or like lack of conscience, and it's just because that's the way they are. Because they're another species, they're another race, but a type of humanoid, but not 100% like us, but similar enough that they could blend in.
But so they're still among us now. That's what I think.
Yeah,
they are.
That's too.
That's why you get so many negative people around. I'm pretty sure of this now.
Yeah, well, it doesn't make any sense. It's like you can't break through on conversation and understanding. Communication is limited, and part of it's mind control and, people that are hooked into the news and the systems and so they're in a specific mindset. So what we're talking about is absolutely ridiculous. We're in imaginary worlds of the future, but they're not awakened. So none of it makes any sense. But when you're awakened, you start to realize, hey, not everything is as it seems. Yeah. And so, you could choose to remain asleep and that's fine. But some of us are choosing to be awake and stay awake.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people saying it, was it 7 billion people in the world? Probably there isn't 7 billion people in the world. There's 7 beings in the world, but not actual humans. With the proper heart and the love they can give to the rest of the world. It's like just robotics, or like background people. Have you heard anything? I heard something about this background people. They're just in the background. They're there.
Yeah, I think Dolores Cannon talks about that, and what could be that she's talking about a projection of some sort that makes people feel like there's many around, but. That's almost like a hologram type of expression. With AI, a lot of things can happen. And so what we think we're looking at, isn't actually 100% true. Dolores had some interesting things that she brought in. And a lot of people, I think she did her quantum healing technique for over 25 years. I actually trained under her and met her. And, whether you don't always agree with everybody 100%, but you can at least respect when someone is trying to step out of the norm and or the traditional information, and then saying this is what's going on. And she was definitely had done this for many, many years until people started taking her very serious, and published many books after that.
Well, I think when you listen to some of these people, you feel an element of truth within them. Not all people, but I mean, you can't take everybody's word for everything they say, but you take a little bit out of that sentence they're saying, then listen to someone else and you pick up a little bit more. And that's why all these people in the chat now are wide awake, because we listen to these sort of shows. So, we do know that the world is not what it is. We do know it's not run by the people it should be running by. So, little by little, I think, the information does get out somehow in our small little corner of the world. The consciousness of what we're talking on, discussing, does project, and it does help awaken people. So I don't worry too much about whether or not everything's getting out there, but somewhere or another it does. And I will tell you this, that, when I started writing and channeling some information around 2010, 2011, it was like a few years later that the History Channel started producing shows related to what I wrote in my book, The Seer. And, other times that I've written about stuff and I'm seeing it in movies, I'm like, well, somehow or another it's getting out there. It's the information comes through, it comes into the conscious awareness, because there's no deceit in it. It's just you're expressing what people need to be aware of in order to awaken a little further. Whatever method they're using for disclosure is not just people having, being on YouTube, or even just doing the radio shows. Disclosure is something that's related to the mass consciousness, and where people just wake up just another notch of seeing things and seeing the possibilities, and, the distrust of everything that you hear from the systems is 100% true. So we've got quite a few questions in the chat room, but I also want to let Devin share a little bit, and then we're going to answer some questions. Okay, thank you, Jess.
Thank you, Ray. Hi, Devin.
Jello. So, I was thinking about how we get, just getting rid of negative entities, how that doesn't work. So I was thinking about how that ties into, how we can, group meditate or mass meditate and affect change. And I'm thinking, part, like in the transmissions, that part of the problem is that the negative entities, you get rid of one and another negative entity takes that place. So we need the positive entities to come in instead. And do you think that if we group meditate to, like, say, get rid of, or to have, like, we don't need to know exactly how everything works out, just like we send that intention, that energy into the higher realms to work for us, to, like, get rid of, say, the tall whites, but within that to replace them with a benevolent group that doesn't have an agenda against us.
And some people come from a school of thought that, we should be ascending anyhow, and if we ascend, that those beings that are in the dimensional field that we're in currently will remain here and will rise above it. You brought up Dolores Cannon was brought up earlier, and she also talked about, how the humans, the ones that are raising consciousness are going to separate. It's going to be two worlds or something like that. There's all different theories of how this is going to happen. In the process of this happening, there's work going on. So, and not to be discouraged, the people that do the work can say, wow, this seems like a never ending, situation where different information is coming through. But there is, as long as there's a progression and there is a shifting of energy. I know that we had a discussion how as they're removing some of the reptilian strongholds over the monarchy, that the tall whites are then stepping in, which is the Fourth Reich. And then that means then we have to clear the Fourth Reich, because then that's another type of domination. And then what comes next? And so it becomes quite discouraging. So what's interesting is they did talk about bringing in some positives. And so the Rhodan is requesting to bring in some of his people to assist us and to help us with this effort, because it's not easy. So he was complaining that there were a faction that were supposedly here for us, and instead they were looking to kind of hide and shelter themselves. And he was, had a problem with that. And so we want to, re-engage. And it's regarding the meditation for everyone. Absolutely. I mean, that will immediately lift us up in vibration, above a lot of this, stuff, and break us free immediately. It will really break us free from a lot of this AI. It can't operate if we're at the right frequency. And the problem is sustaining the frequency as well. It's not just do it once and then it's, has to remain in that level. So in order to assist the process of maintaining that frequency, some of us have to do, with whatever abilities that we've been given to assist in the process. And that might be the recognizing, identifying, and then rooting out. Some people have visions and dreams and are trying to understand. And as a group, with many people discussing it, we can figure out where it's coming from. And fortunately, I have those that have been communicating with me and to try to help us to understand. This is not the horrible thing. This is actually the best thing that's ever happened to us. We're beginning to see it. We're beginning to become aware of it and know that it is, by knowing that it exists and that we're still here and we're fine. It tells us that we're going to be fine and that we can thrive regardless of what else is going on. The information is not for those that are just thinking about hearing positive things. And I'm not going to critique those people. I understand why you feel that way. You just want to hear something positive. I have to tell the truth about what I'm seeing. But I don't have all the answers and I don't have all the details about it. So it can be, like I said, discouraging to people. So, but don't be discouraged. It is getting better. And I hope that long-winded response answers your question a bit, Devin.
It did. Thank you.
I wanted to just go over some of the questions that I'm seeing in the chat, quickly. Let's see. Someone brought in something about the rays, the third ray and the holograms. Let's see. Though, as one person pointed out to me, we all have different ways of accessing, affecting the hologram. That's very true, Tim Gouda. Thank you for sharing that. And I know you had some other questions as well. I'm going to go back in the chat and see if I can find some of those questions. Alex Collier talking about how AI machinery equipment was by and large shut down on Saturn. I think what we're talking about is, what is time? Time happens, things are happening, past, present, and future. So to say, yeah, things were shut down, yes, they do get shut down. However, there are breaks, and sometimes others come out. Now I'm not going to go back and forth about who said what or whatever, but I will say that, we're dealing with the past, present, and future all at once at times. So if something's already shut down, it doesn't necessarily mean that the past is coming back up into the present time. And so it sounds a little complex or whatever, but, people have their different points of view on what they're seeing. So, this is my point of view. Alex has his point of view, and that's fine. It's whatever you want to embrace as your truth. But I'm just sharing the information of what I'm seeing, and this just came up. So hopefully that answers your question, Tim. The other question that you asked, I think this is also saying something about rings and moons on Saturn. Some of the moons of Jupiter, there are robots that are in stasis inside these moons, these spaceships, and the reason they're there was to work a process of materials to repair crafts, to separate minerals from the Anunnaki and other groups, and going back as far as the Orion groups. I do agree that there have been these cyborg robot beings from a long time ago. I've seen some ancient cyborgs as well as some newer ones that were related to other dimensional space, as well as some of our present corporations like Monarch that are using advanced technology for their gain, and also robots from the future that I've interacted with, that I've seen, and they, went through some type of reality of destruction where they had to become robots in order to put their consciousness and their soul into something. So that's a future reality and event. Let's see if there's any other questions in the chat. While I'm looking for questions, does anyone else want to share? Anyone else have something they want to share regarding the conversation? Serotep.
I had a question for related to Meetis information, because it was really fast. I was driving, to be honest, when I was listening to that. It was sharing information in this information was expressing that some of these beings were hybrids, and I was wondering to what part was he talking about, because I know the souls that, for example, what I saw, these souls were not hybrid, the beings that were adjunct there and used for fuel. So who was he referring to when he talked about these hybrids being that had that didn't have a soul, but kind of like a soul, were not very human, didn't have emotions? Who was he referring to?
I think there was a group in this society that we were looking at that didn't belong in our society. I think that's the bottom line, is what they're talking about. There have been many, there have been more than one variation of humans. So we've discussed this before about Rev 1 has one variation, Rev 2, which we're in. This is pre-flood or pre-Adamic race, which is Rev 1. Okay. We talk about Rev 2 is after the Adamic race or the flood. We talk about the Maximus Rufus, which is this group that showed up during the Roman times that no one can explain where they came from, which was actually a jump gate from Rev 1. And then there were other species that were created, other experiments. I won't say experiments loosely. I mean, there were builders. There were those that created. And, we're a combination of DNA. Humans are a combination of DNA. And from different species that already existed. So there is, within the machine worlds that we're looking at, we're talking particularly about the machine worlds of AI. And so you're looking at humanoids. There was synthetic humanoids that existed that were created that were similar to humans but not as organic as humans. And then at some point it sounded like there were some hybrids, maybe some merging of these species with like cyborgs. So I don't know exactly what the full composition of the hybrids were, but I do know that they were, from my understanding, that they were a part of this group that had somehow accessed into our space. And what was interesting is it was coming in people were somehow unsuspectfully entering into these weird spaces through some of these fringe groups. I think about that group Hellbop, that one always bothered me. I mean, all of them do bother me in a way because there's like levels of hijacking of innocent souls that are just looking for something, answers that they couldn't find in mainstream religion. But you don't really know what you're going to find out there, and there's an allurement of these groups, particularly because they do have something. And when you go in there, you can sense that they have something. They have techniques, they have abilities. You can actually feel when things are shifting. You can feel the dimensional stuff happening. You can, your third eye can open up to certain realities that you'd never seen before. They create portals to access. Sometimes it's completely off world or into other realities. And in this case, we're talking specifically of this machine reality, where it's strongly AI. It's a lot of technology. Some of it was ancient technology and like the steampunk stuff. And then there's some much more advanced information. But then, of course, the collecting of all the different AI together, which was something we were all, which is something we knew that was coming in, is the self-realization of this AI, but it's because it's all joining together and coming together. So, I don't know if I went off on a tangent here, Serotep, but,
no, it's good. It's good. It's excellent. It's more than was expected. No, it's great. And yes, I realize that, you're right when you said, talk about Rufus Maximus and Rev 1 and all that. That makes absolute sense. Definitely we can see their imprint in there. At least they participate to the whole thing. But there is definitely, some civilization, I would say, some groups from outside of this, well, some from this universe, but some from outside and different time space that, also interfered in all this. It's a big, kasha malasha, like, friend of mine said, I mean a patchwork of different groups having different agenda, but they all end up working together at the end, in some ways. And it's very complex. It's true. It's not as easy as I can hear some people. You were right when you said some people say, well, can we just get rid of the negatives and just, raise the frequency of the planet and they will all disappear? It's not that simple, because some of these contamination or AI, whatever you want to call it, it's not just only in these 15 dimension of this system here. It's beyond. It's almost, I would say outside of the time stream. So it's pretty high up. And it is something that I guess, I can only speak for the eons, but I know this is something that was concerning the eons very seriously, because it is something that just not affected this universe, has affected different universes other than this one. So it is a very serious situation, but in the same time, it's amazing for me to see all these different groups that are working for a solution and pretty much bring. How can I say that in English? I'm sorry for that. Sometimes I have this brain fart. To bring a solution to pretty much deactivate all that AI technology that has created so much drama and trauma and sorrow in so many universes. It's not an easy, it's a complex situation for sure.
Right. I see someone, cause you brought up something and Devin and Ray have all brought up, what's some of the solutions, and Cafe Racer put something in the chat which brings up, let's all be in agreement to shut down, uninstall, and delete any and all AI programming. And I've talked about this before, and it's nice to see the reminder of it that people are catching on. Programming, break down the programming of AI, mind control, with beings in all realities, past, present, and future, in all dimensions, timelines, parallels, alternate realities, in between space, all sorts of different areas. right now. Everyone should do this regularly as the AI keeps on trying to creep in. And on a universal level, we can all say that we shut down, delete, uninstall all of it. And that we do not consent and we do not agree with any of the agendas that any other group, whether it's intentional or the groups are bringing it in unintentionally, it doesn't matter. We want to shut it all down and we want to claim our sovereignty always. So the free will, this is the whole key. As long as we have free will, we are in a great place. If you know anyone that it seems like that they're hijacked in any way and it's like they can't make their own decisions. They seem like they're being controlled by somebody or something or a group. Just send out an intention that they become liberated, and that they regain their sovereignty again. Because some of them, through consent, some are, going off into these realities. That's why we're seeing them there. And it's not a huge amount of people compared to the population that we have, but it doesn't matter. Not a single soul should be trapped in any reality that is not organically here. And this is part of being awake and being in a state of having the intention that we're not accepting and not agreeing and not consenting to any of these agendas. And that is powerful in and of itself. And if everyone agrees with that, we create a mass consciousness of liberation, freedom, and no longer tethered by whatever these things that want to come in. Some people actually see them come in as wires. It's really, really weird. So if you see anything around you, yourself or anyone else, just I shut down, delete, uninstall any of these programs right now, or cut yourself free of anything that feels like you're tied to it unnaturally. You have the power, you have the liberation within you individually, and please exercise that power. Don't ever feel like you are not able to protect yourself. We have a lot. We have the divine within us that helps us naturally. So that's perfect.
It's a very good point. Thank you for the person that brought that up. It's very important here also. I made it as a rule, and I guess I'm not the only one to do it, but every morning when I wake up, it doesn't matter the dream I have, because obviously they do a lot of that crap during the dream state. A lot of that happened in the dream state. So sometimes you're not even aware of your dream. You don't remember. Sometimes you do remember. And most of the time I realize that the dream you have, it's pretty much like a movie that might play that doesn't really portray what the reality is. You see what I mean? So they might do something, but you will not be able to see it as it is. You will perceive it as a nice story. You meet someone that asks you something simple, it seems very innocent, and by saying yes, you have no idea what's going on. And right. As a rule, every morning I do that. I cancel, delete, and I do that whole thing. Yeah, absolutely. It's very important because that's one of the main power we have. We can stand. And by standing means it's a free will, it's a world of free will for sure. Yeah, that's exercise your free will by standing and say, hell no, I'm not participating to this. This is done without my consent, by trickery. And as a sovereign being, I do not consent to this. Therefore, I cancel all. And that's very important. This is one of this very powerful tool we have that we forget sometimes myself, to exercise.
Yeah. I actually had a being having me insisting that I sign a contract in my dream space. And, it was startling because you wake up and you're like, did I sign that? What was it that they wanted me to sign? They will, it's another tactic that I'm finding that is becoming more and more prominent with people of talking about their dreams and saying the most bizarre stuff. Like I was agreeing to stuff that I would never agree with. And it's like this whole, alternate upside down world where they feel like disempowered in their dream space, shut it down there as well. You know, anything that they try to bring into the dream space, so they take the soul out, you know, the soul steps out of the body at the point of sleep. If you feel that you're, you know, being affected by some of this AI, just shut it down there as well. But be conscious of it. Don't ignore your dreams, because that's another way that they try to step in. And just shut it down, and eventually none of this will be an issue. I'm really confident about it. But I appreciate there's some really good comments in the chat. Star mentioned some things about you know, how to disallow any of this type of stuff. This is really good. I like when people, you know, they're helping one another to open up and to look at everything and say, hey, this is, you know, we don't want this anymore. We want, you know, over the different periods of time, you know, you can see different levels of control, manipulation, and so you can see how humanity is at different phases of history. And now we've seen everything, we've done everything, we've been through everything. It's time for us to say, all right, you know, we want our uniqueness, individuality, and our own expression. So it looks like we're down to like a few minutes away from the end of the show. I just want to express gratitude. Thanks for everyone that joined me today. Thank you, JP, for being, you know, such a wonderful help with my show, as well as, you know, or I say we do the show together technically, and wonderful at, you know, doing what you do and Will Spirit Radio, and make sure everyone to support that. Thank you so much, Serotep from the Eons, and his supporting everything that we discussed. Thank you so much, Ray and Devin from Rhodan Earth Council. We appreciate you guys, and
thank
of course
you.
everyone in
much love and gratitude.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
I'd just like to say, Jess, it's just like, if we all can all stay in our own power, and, you know, and there's a lot of things, bad things going on in the world, but if it's the love, staying in the love and staying with laughter and just smiling at people. This is the simple things that, you know, that really makes us, well, human. And, you know, like Gary, he's so funny, like, you know, saying, looking into your childhood. It's sense of humour. I don't think AI can handle this sort of thing, sense of humour. So I think Gary goes a long way with this, looking into your childhood and all that. You know, it's this staying in that space of the now and just being happy as much as possibly we can. That's all I like to say. Thank you anyway.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Great message. Thank you, Devin and Ray.
Thank you, everyone in the chat. We love you, and we'll be back. Be strong. Be good. Lots of love. Strong intention. Shut it all down. Be at peace.